Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't wanna miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.
All right, so what's good, everyone? Welcome to another Live Wire Sports Media Entertainment. So I had got a clip from RG3 and his wife. They got this podcast called Out of Pocket. Now, RG3 now has several podcasts, but this one is pretty good with him and his wife. And they had WWE wrestler Seth Rollins on there. Now, if you don't know who Seth Rollins is, he was part of the Shield, then he went solo. He's been doing his thing. Sometimes he'd be on Raw, sometimes he'd be on SmackDown. But now, you know, this is WrestleMania weekend, so he's participating in that. But RG3 wife posed a question about, I think Seth Rollins is from Iowa. I'm not for sure, but I think he is. So, and they asked him a question about Caitlyn Clark. And this is what he had to say.
You are from Iowa.
Yes.
So how impactful has been Caitlyn Clark to Iowa and to women's sports?
I love Caitlyn Clark, man. I love Caitlyn Clark. I love it.
I don't want to get blasphemous here, but I mean, it's Jordan-esque. I mean, she's changed the game.
She's so unassuming, you know? You look at her, you don't think anything. You don't think she's a star. You don't think she's going to just be balling out on everybody, and she does, you know? Yeah. And to see what she's done for women's sports, obviously the WNBA specifically, but just women's sports in general, even the fact that, like, you get this all this conflict at the top in the WNBA now about arguing, like, whether or not it should be her or, is like Paige Buckers is coming out this year, and now she's going to be the top dog, and, like, just this conflict. Is it Angel Reese? Like, who deserves the credit? The fact that we're even having that conversation, I think, is amazing. And to see what she's done and the amount of money she's been able to bring in for the women in sports, I love it. In Iowa, we ain't got much, man. We ain't got no sports teams. That's why I'm a Bears fan. And so to see, like, people rally behind her is so cool. And, like, I get it mostly because my Facebook's private. All my other socials are like, public, but my Facebook's private. It's all my friends from back home in Iowa. So just every time, like, anything happens with her in the news cycle, like, they're all over. They're in such defense of Caitlyn Clark, and I just love it. I think she's great. I can't wait to see, like, her sophomore year, what she's going to do. Like, it's going to be fantastic. And then you get this. I mean, it's only going to grow. So, yeah, great question. I'm glad we got to talk about her. She's awesome.
That's pretty good for him, them to ask him that question for him, since he's from Iowa and everything like that. And the thing about it is that it's hard not to gravitate to Caitlyn Clark as the person, not so much the athlete, because we already know what she is as an athlete. But gravitating to her as a person is really special, because she goes by her business like no other, and she handles herself differently like no other. And we have seen it, and this is where I try not to get so caught up in the comparison of her versus Angel Reese, Paige Beckers, or Juju Watkins, or Haley Van Lith, or none of that. She has beaten them. They have beaten her. But she has separated herself. And that's the one thing people do not talk about in comparison. She has separated herself from all of them because of who she is and what she has done. Because everybody, even the mainstream media, tends to continue to attach them to her, or say, well, they better than her, or she didn't win this, or she needs this, or it's not just her that helped women's game, it's the others. And yeah, even Seth mentioned the Angel Reeses, the Paige Beckers. But at the same time, we all know that Caitlyn Clark is in the stratosphere by herself, and we can't continue to misuse the information that we have. But because they do, it becomes to a remotely endless talking point. And the fact of the matter is that when it's all said and done, Caitlin Clark's game speaks louder than anything. You could compare her, you could say, oh, this person's better than her. You could say, oh, this person does this better than her. Um, but we all know the detail. We all know the facts. We all know how it is. And the thing about it is, like I said before, in timeless of times in my video, that she is anomaly. She, excuse me, excuse me. She's an anomaly. She's in a stratosphere by herself. She does things that she does things that no other person does. And at the end of the day, it just seems like, hey, people want to continue to tear her down just to uplift other people. Yeah, we could talk about her. Yeah, we could talk about others. There's other decent players that's in the league, but look what her game did. Look what her game took off for ratings. Even I could say this. Even if Paige Beckers was healthy, she wouldn't be able to still draw the viewership numbers or the attendance ratings like Caitlin Clark has done. It doesn't. I mean, you see her now, and they don't do that because the game is totally different. If Paige was out there shooting threes like Caitlin Clark, it would have been a whole totally different thing. You know what I'm saying? But she doesn't do that. She plays the safe. She plays the safe game. You know what I'm saying? If you look at Juju game is a little bit more dynamic than Paige's is because she plays aggressively. She plays like how Michael Jordan or Kobe Bryant would play the game. You know what I'm saying? You know, but that's the difference. You have these different players play the game totally different. Caitlin Clark plays the game a little bit like Steph Curry, with a little bit of magic, a little bit of John Stock there in her. You know what I'm saying? A little bit Mark Price. If some of y'all don't know who Mark Price is, you need to look him up. But then you look at Paige. She plays the more safest efficient game, you know, to get the easy buckets, to have a little bit more efficiency, pass a little bit here, a little bit, but she relies on her defense a little bit more. But then you look at, like I said, you look at Juju. She plays the more aggressive game. She wants to get to the foul line. She wants to get a post by there. She doesn't take too much risk. She plays defensively, but each one of these, like, then you look at Haley, a smaller version of all of these girls. She doesn't shoot as much volume. She has to pick and choose when she get her points. You know what I'm saying? So my thing is this here is that all these ladies is going to, to be compared to Caitlin Clark. It's not like Caitlin Clark is being compared to them. It's them being compared to Caitlin Clark. How we could get these ladies better than Caitlin Clark, and it's hard. It's really hard for you to do that because Caitlin Clark has separate herself from everybody. She separate herself from the whole field. She's in the whole class by herself, and the only argument people have is because she hasn't won the national championship. That's the only argument people have. That's it. They could say, well, she's a great 3-point shooter, but you don't even, people don't even talk about her passing ability, her assist records, and stuff like that. The first thing they go to is her 3-point shooting. When she does more than 3-point shooting, everything we could say, well, we look at her defensively, she's not that really bad on defense. I mean, she led all rookies in block shots and rebounds last year as a guard. So You can't use that argument either. So anything that Paige can do, Caitlyn could do. Yeah, this might be a little bit more efficiency difference in the two, but guess what? You know why? Because Caitlyn is asked to do more than Paige is or Juju are being asked to. That's the difference. Caitlyn is being asked to do more, and she has more control to be a facilitator more so than they do. Because if Caitlyn was surrounded with a lot of different people, like she has with the Indiana Fever, she still will be able to actually do more because she has to get the ball to them because none of them can get their own shots. Or probably a few can. You know what I'm saying? If you put, for instance, if you put Paige in the same predicament as Caitlin Clark was in Iowa, put Paige in Iowa, Paige would have been deferring more to that team than she would have been shooting and scoring. Caitlyn did both. She led them in scoring and assists more, and she led the nation in both of them. Paige would have had to do one or the other. You know what I'm saying? And then she would have had to rely on others to be more of a scoring threat. And that would have been the difference between that because she would have she couldn't do both. Same thing with Juju. Juju can't do both. She could score, but she can't assist on a consistent basis and score like Caitlin Clark could. Even at UConn, Paige didn't do that. When she had them 30-point explosion games in the NCAA tournament, where was her assist record total was? It was unevenly. So therefore, Caitlyn does both, and she did it as a rookie in the WNBA. That's the difference between the both. Excuse me. That's the difference between Caitlin Clark and the others. Caitlyn has separated herself from the rest of the field. So until the next episode, this is Live Wire Sports Media, and I'm out.
Hey, so amazing. You see how they playing? Live wire, it's all about sports and entertainment. You don't wanna miss it, so official like you never seen. Keep it going till the whistle blowing from the referee. Everything from highlights and stats. You know that we gotta run it back, whether on the field or the court. You know that this is where it's at. Subscribe, no delaying. This is Live Wire, sports and entertainment. Let's go.